Hi, Columbia. This is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Just line up. They do a lot of movement. We have to do a great job of this game in identifying, and setting our protections and making sure everybody's on the same page.
We know what our team's capable of, and I know if we can find that last stone to flip over, where the speed's at, what's holding us up, that we can go.
Say this guy's got to all of a sudden start throwing the ball faster and more accurately, and the pitcher's now got to be even quicker to the plate. Well, then you're falling right into trying to keep him from getting on first base. We know that's impossible.
Good evening and welcome into Sports Talk on this Friday night. Good to have you with us as we wrap up another busy week of Sports Talk's South Carolina Radio Network. Good that you are with us tonight.
We appreciate that you are with us. We thank you for being with us every night. Phil Kornblut here on the road in Atlanta from our Atlanta Bureau because of family affairs in Atlanta this weekend. But I'll be heading over to Clemson tomorrow to cover the Tigers and the Louisville Cardinals. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing how Clemson's
freshman sensation Deshaun Watson holds up against an outstanding defense, at least on paper, an outstanding defense in the Louisville Cardinals. So looking forward to see how that works. Meantime, you Gamecock fans, you can kind of take a breather this weekend. You don't have to worry about a game. You don't have to worry about converting a fourth down, holding on to a lead in the fourth quarter because you're not playing this weekend, so you get a break. Back at our studios in Columbia, Kevin McCrary and the Professor Tom Hayes. They'll be joining us here in just a moment. In fact, they are now in place. Guys, we got some big news coming out this afternoon. Trayon Harris back in uniform for the Florida Gators. And Todd Gurley, going to be a while, I think, based on the stories this afternoon, going to be a while until the Georgia fans see him in uniform again, if at all in a Georgia uniform.
Yep. Takes a while for the NCAA to make those decisions, and conflicting reports on how much money potentially traded hands there and what the evidence is. And with the Harris situation, go figure. We talked about it last night. A lawyer goes out and says, this is what it's going to be like. I'm going to sit there and smear you as much as possible in public, and we don't know the details of the case. I'm just saying what we do know is this is the modus operandi in these cases. Smear the accuser and make them wonder, is this really worth it to go through all this? And this person, who's also an athlete at Florida, said no. The Jameis Winston accuser says that she was also pressured not to do it. She obviously pursued it, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the day after he went public and started smearing her, she decided to back away from the charges.
Yeah, when there's no forensic evidence or little forensic evidence, it becomes he says, she says, and then it becomes a
who's the bigger
smear
yeah.
campaign, and it gets tough then. And the lady never really wants anybody questioning or going through her diary or whatever to find out her sexual history.
Yeah, and her identity comes out. Just it's a tough deal. That's why a lot of people don't step forward.
Mm-hmm. Is there perhaps a chance that Trayon Harris is not guilty in this case?
I said we don't know the details, but we know these things happen over and over. This pattern happens.
Take a look at the tie line first, and look where the settings are on the left three dials. Of course, if you're hearing me, where do you have those dials set at on the left side there?
Can you hear me?
Okay, where do you have those three dials set at? Right. At 5 a.m. Okay, 5 a.m. All right, and put the balance in the middle.
No.
Check one. Take the green button and turn it all the way to the. Let's see. Turn it all the way. Turn it all the way to the right. Check one, check one, check one. You hear anything, Pro?
No.
No. All right, then turn it all the way to the left. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Do anything?
I still can't hear.
Okay. And then
Well, this happened before. What did we do before? Did we figure out why I couldn't hear him when a few weeks ago?
That was when the board was still
Oh.
wired the opposite way.
I heard it when he turned it, but I guess when he turned this mic on, I could hear it. There was a time when you asked it, what about now? I heard him coming through then. Did you push the talk back
No,
button?
all I did was mute him here because I thought maybe you heard him.
Because you asked me through the headset. You talked to us through the headset. I heard him talking too.
Right.
You have this on. Do you hear him now say something for him?
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3. I hear you. I hear you.
Hold it.
Yeah, I hear Pro.
Not say something.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
I can hear him, but it sounds like it's a mic open is the only reason I can hear him. I don't hear him directly in the headset.
Mm-hmm.
How much time we have?
About a minute, 30 seconds.
Door open and listen.
What does that keep the door open and let them listen through the floor here?
So what you're saying is the direct audio is not getting into those headsets.
They're going into their headsets.
All right, we'll have to let Mark know about that.
This is interesting. Yeah, this is what
So that's not. Okay. Don't forget David Shelton at 45. Well, I think we have a couple of very interesting developments today in college football with Trayon Harris and Todd Gurley. 800-956-7266. Our email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at sportstalksc. On Facebook, it is Sports Talk Radio Network. And, of course, our website is sportstalksc.com. And so, like you said, K-Mac, we don't know the facts in the case, but the bottom line in this whole deal is that a female made a charge early in the week, and Harris was suspended. And now today, for whatever reason, the young lady has dropped the charges. You are bringing up the argument that maybe the reason she is doing so is because of the pressure being brought upon her by Harris's attorney going in and saying things yesterday, very descriptive language that he used, but also in defense of Harris, pointing out some evidence in support of Harris's case in this case. So what I'm saying here is not always is the man guilty. And in the case of the athlete, he pays the price, both in terms of being forced off the team for X number of days or weeks or months, and also his name, which is the one that is put in the public circle, gets dragged through mud.
I still want to go to school here, but if it comes out that I accused a star football player of doing this to me, the whole school's going to turn against me because I ruined the football season. And we can't, and again, that's not just this case, that's every case, and that's what's troubling about it. That's what it makes you feel a little slimy, because that is why you have a lot, when people go, why didn't she say something? Why didn't she come forward and to say, you know what, it's awful what happened to me, but it's just, I don't want to go through it again. It's going to be just as bad going through this, and they don't pursue the charge. Now, that does not mean that Harris is guilty and got away with anything. I'm certainly not implying that, but I'm saying I think we all can agree in these cases that's usually the modus operandi, and it makes it very difficult for a victim to potentially bring these charges forward, because, yeah, you're right. Well, first of all, Jameis Winston didn't lose any playing time. None. Florida State didn't bench him at all while he was going through it, and that's not always the case. That's a new thing because of everything that's happened. But secondly, that the alleged victims are under a lot of pressure to make it go away, and whether it's domestic issues or sexual assault issues, drop the charges. Drop the charges. You're going to ruin this guy. Drop the charges. You're going to ruin yourself. You don't want to do it. Make it go away.
Yeah, the key point there is, and no one knows what they would do in a traumatic experience. That's why they say that if there is a situation, the accuser needs to call law enforcement immediately. So they bring in medical people, undergo an examination, have the rape kit, and then when you have forensic evidence that's irrefutable, then there's no argument. You know who the guilty party is or whatever, and then it doesn't come down to he said, she said. But in this case, when you come maybe afterwards and there's no forensic evidence, then it becomes very difficult. And as you say, K-Mac, especially in small communities where the college is a Gainesville,
not even college. I mean, you look at some of these big high school programs where we've read about these things, and stuff gets passed around, and if you're a young female and your reputation and your sexual history becomes fair game and public light, some people don't want to deal with that, and that was a point I was making, Corn. I'm really looking at it broader than just the Treyon Harris case, because it's dropped and he's back on the team, and only him and that girl really know what happened that night, and I'm not one to pass judgment there, but I'm just saying that this is kind of the standard operating procedure, and this is what women, the accusers, have to be ready to deal with. That's why I don't know why somebody would falsely accuse somebody. I mean, yeah, there might be some people that do that are looking for attention, that are looking for money, if they think somebody's going to be, if they're an NFL star, et cetera, et cetera. This guy's a freshman, and there's no guarantee he's ever going to have any money, but I think by and large you have to take those claims seriously and wonder, why would somebody make something like this up, knowing that they're going to get scrutinized and ripped to shreds the way, even if it is true, you're going to be assassinated character-wise publicly by that person's big-dollar lawyers that he's going to have access to.
Well, but I mean, nobody knows who the girl is, do they? I mean, she hasn't been identified.
Well, it would have been, yeah, but exactly. But if this thing comes, and she's an athlete at Florida, according to ESPN, it would have come out. Had she continued to pursue this case, certainly her name would have come out eventually. Her identity would have been leaked out because, again, especially if she's an athlete, a lot easier to identify that person. Her career at Florida probably would have been over. She would have had to transfer. It's very difficult in these situations for the victim.
With social media, you almost think that her name somehow is going to come out.
And maybe she doesn't want to, quit her team, and maybe she likes being at Florida. We've seen these things happen before, and again, at other schools. I mean, the situation at Clemson with Joe Craig, that involved a student athlete that had to leave Clemson. She was the victim there, but it was just such a, an issue, and then everybody on the campus knows who you are and what you did, and Joe Craig wasn't even a big-time football player. You're talking about the quarterback of a team, and we all know how these rabid fan bases are. They're the ones that send death threats to their own players when they mess up. So if it's some girl that they know, again, it's a he said, she said, blame the victim. You screwed up our football season. You're not going to be able to continue a normal life or any semblance of a normal life at that school, and you'd have to leave at that point.
In this case with Treyon Harris, what the attorney said yesterday sounded unless he was just making stuff up. It sounded to me like he had some pretty strong evidence to support his client.
He's an attorney.
And his job.
I mean, that's what Jameis Winston's attorneys did the same thing. They smeared the girl that accused him.
He didn't smear the girl. Perhaps he was defending his client the best way he knows how.
But you don't know that that's true. I mean, you don't know what he said. I mean, he said, okay, they knew each other fine. That doesn't mean anything. A lot of sexual assaults with men that know the women. I mean, he's doing his job to me. But I mean, you can't say, well, that's why she's dropping it. Everything he said's true, and she gave up. That's what he wants you.
I have no reason not to think that. I have no reason not to think that at this point. And you know, if I'm a woman, God help us all if I were a woman, but if I were and that actually happened and I was sexually assaulted, there's no way on God's green earth that I'd give up the fight. I don't care, you know, what the public pressure is. If I was assaulted,
but you're not in that
like
spot,
that, there are people. I know, but there are people who can help you. There are people you can go to. There are people on campus. There are support groups
that are going to protect her 24 hours as she goes to class. Campus. Come on.
Well, I mean, there are. Yes, you go public with it, and as you have done, you go to the athletic director, you go to the media, you show you're good.
Protect her, right.
Well, you play your power card, which is the truth. If you have the truth on your side, you play the power card, which is the truth. And I'm just saying, we always jump to the other side so quickly. Maybe Harris's side is right. As for Todd Gurley's situation, now I'm fed up with it, to be honest with you. You know, I was hardcore all these years, hardcore about athletes not getting anything, not benefiting. But, you know, I've come full circle on that now because I see that's where it's all moving, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the players being able to benefit off their likeness and off their talent while they're in college and pocket some money. Hopefully this Todd Gurley thing is going to be a breaking point because I think people are fed up. I was listening to just a national talk show on my way into Atlanta, and the callers were fed up. Now, these weren't Georgia fans. These were callers. These were college football fans. They're tired of this crap. You know, they're tired of seeing the great players, some great players from time to time have to stand on the sideline and miss big games, which is going to be the case here for Gurley. I think we all want to see Gurley and Georgia at their best against Missouri. and not have Missouri win a game with Georgia's best player not able to play because of some autographs he signed and some paraphernalia he might have signed that ended up on eBay or somewhere else in the spring, and he pocketed $400 or $4,000, whatever the case may be. It's time for the NCAA to move on from that, and they should be more concerned about things along the lines of cheating in recruiting and eligibility and things like that. Once a guy's in school, especially into his third year, and he's going to become a senior, and he's developed into a great player, an All-American, and he happens to cash in some on his abilities and what his skills have brought to the team and to the school, the money the school has made, and he cashes in somewhat on that. That doesn't harm anybody. How does it hurt somebody? Now, if it's getting to a case where it's involved in, gambling or affecting games along those lines, that's a whole other story. But I think Gurley should be in uniform tomorrow and able to play for Georgia the rest of the season, and let's move on and play football.
Yeah, but he did break a rule that's a known rule, and he's not stupid, and so I get that, that's what I was saying last night. You can't have one conversation though without having the one that you just had. And okay, well, should this rule be in place and enforced the way it is being enforced? And you got this scumbag that recorded him, because you have to have it authentic. You have to have a picture of him signing it so you can say, look, it's really him. I have the video of it. And then he's been for a few weeks now trying to tip everybody off, from ESPN to Bleacher Report, to get this story out there and bury the kid. And that's what they're up against. But I'm with you, and I think the way to do it, I'm not talking about paying players, but certainly players that are like Todd Gurley, that are like Deshaun Watson, that are like Jadeveon Clowney, that are worth more than just your average Joe Blow backup punter, should have special rights to where they get a percentage of their jersey sales after they graduate. And then I wouldn't have any mercy on these guys. You got to wait till you graduate, then you can get that money.
I think I get it before I graduate. I want it now.
Or it goes to their parents or an escrow account somewhere. But we got to do better than what we're doing now, definitely.
Okay, we are back in Sports Talk here on this Friday night. Phil Kornblut in Atlanta. K-Mac and the Pro back at our Columbia studios, Main Streets, downtown Columbia. It's that time on a Friday night as we head into a football weekend for our football filibuster as we welcome in two of the greatest governors, self-proclaimed, in the history of South Carolina, Jim Hodges and David Beasley. Governor Hodges, how are you?
Well, I'm good. I appreciate that introduction. That's really inspiring by you.
Governor Beasley, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing fine. It's good to have both of you with us tonight. Let's update everybody on the competition. Last week, Governor Hodges, very nice, 7-3, makes you 35-25 on the season. Governor Beasley, not bad for you, 5-5, improves your mark to 28-32. So we're basically at the halfway point. Governor Beasley, what is your plan for turning around this competition this year?
I've got to have some kind of scam going. I got to do something. I'm in trouble. I don't know.
Maybe a little divine intervention.
I think we got to cheat on the books or something. Jim's killing me.
You know, I think maybe you should consult your wife more. You know, bring her into the fray and take her advice a little more and see if she can help you out.
There is no doubt she'd do a lot better than I would be doing. But let's see what we can do this time. Maybe I can, as good as I tried, Jim just keeps on. He's figuring out those squeaky ones. I don't know how he's doing. He's got some kind of inside gig going on I don't know about.
I think he's a student of the game.
He is a good student.
Information's gone. It was Todd Gurley, and he's no longer playing. So I'm not going to be able to call on Todd to help me anymore.
You were the one. You were the one that bought the memorabilia to put him on the hot seat. All right, let's get to it, guys. We got 10 really good games for you to pick through here. So, Governor Beasley, we'll let you start things off tonight. So here we go. First of all, out on the West Coast, it's Oregon at UCLA. The Bruins getting 2.5 at home. Governor Beasley.
I believe I'm going with Oregon.
You're taking the Ducks. Governor Hodges.
Taking the Ducks.
Too. I agree with him. The Ducks are too good for UCLA.
Mm-hmm. You're not scared of UCLA being at home, the quarterback for UCLA being a Heisman candidate, as is Oregon's quarterback?
Well, there's no home field advantage in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Well, that's the truth.
Fans there.
I was in Oregon day before yesterday, and they're so fired up. This crowd is really behind their team, and I think this team has got the energy and the excitement going.
Okay. How about this one? North Carolina headed to South Bend to take on Notre Dame, and the Irish favored by 17. Governor Beasley.
I think the Tar Heels, there ain't nothing they can do with what they've got going on in Notre Dame. So South Bend all the way, Notre Dame.
You got it, Governor Hodges.
I agree with David on that. And as I think I mentioned to you, Phil, three of my son's high school teammates play for Notre Dame. So I'll be excited to see that.
That was a loaded high school football team.
They were good. Yeah, they had a good team. The three of the kids play there, and they're real well.
All right, let's go to Boston College at NC State, and the Wolfpack coming off that whooping at the hands of Clemson last weekend, Governor Beasley, but they are favored by 3.5 at home against Clemson's next opponent next week, Boston College.
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with the home field advantage. I feel like the Wolfpack will get their act together. I might regret this, but I'm going with the Wolfpack.
All right, see if they can bounce back. How about you, Governor Hodges?
I'm with David on that one. I think the Wolfpack will do well in this game. Boston College has been pretty inconsistent, so I'll take the Pack.
The Pack laying 3.5. How about Duke at Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech undefeated, and they're favored by 3.5. Governor Beasley.
This might be the toughest one on the whole board, but I'm going to try Duke. I'm going to give the Blue Devils a little bit of a go here. Blue Devils.
Mm-hmm. People not quite believing in Georgia Tech yet, Governor Hodges. How about you?
Well, I'm believing in them. I think they're good enough to carry this one. So I'm going to take Georgia Tech at home.
All right, you got them. Ole Miss at Texas A&M is favored by 2 Will Ole Miss suffer the hangover from beating Bama last week, Governor Beasley?
I tell you what, that was a great game. I know some people think they can't do it 2 back-to-back, but I don't think Texas A&M will be that strong. I'm going with Ole Miss. I think they got so much excitement going on that they'll carry it forward one more time.
No hangover involved, and the Rebels are getting 2 on the road, Governor Hodges.
There's always a hangover in Oxford after a football game, one way or the other. so I'm going to take, I've been down there for once, I'm going to take A&M.
All right, both of you want the Aggies? You got them.
No,
All right,
no,
Governor
I went
Hodges,
with Ole Miss.
Oh, you went with Ole Miss. Okay.
Yeah, I went with Ole
bad.
Miss. I might regret it, but I'm going with Ole Miss.
Okay, I got you. All right, I put down the wrong thing. You got Ole Miss, and Governor Hodges, you got Texas A&M. Okay, yeah. Governor Hodges, you shall lead us now. LSU at Florida, and boy, both teams. Even though Florida got a win last week, it wasn't a thing of beauty. They've had the quarterback issue this week. That's been cleared up, but probably too late to help them get Harris ready for a game. LSU coming off a whipping itself, and it is Florida getting 1.5 at home. Governor Hodges.
Yeah, they're both really disappointing this season. I'm going to take Florida just because they're playing at home. I don't LSU's there's something wrong with that team this year, so I'll take Florida.
Okay, Governor Beasley.
Well, I'm not so sure I don't disagree with Jim, but I need to pick up some advantages somewhere, so I'm going to go with LSU on this game because I think it's a toss-up in the air.
All right, Tigers on the road, favored by 1.5, and you're taking them. How about Alabama at Arkansas? And Arkansas is getting 9 at home, Governor Hodges.
Arkansas. I think they'll certainly have many points. I think Arkansas will keep it reasonably close. So I'll take Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Governor Beasley.
Well, what I want to do and what I'm going to do are 2 different things. I'm going with Alabama because I've got that Alabama girl at home.
Mm-hmm. And she has told you that they will not be embarrassed 2 weeks in a row.
Well, that's not what she told me, but she told me that if I didn't go with Alabama, I would go without 2 weeks in a row.
That's a lifetime for some people. Okay. Auburn at Mississippi State. Governor Hodges, Auburn at Mississippi State, and the home team is getting 3.
Yeah, I'm going to take Auburn in this. I know Mississippi State's good, but Auburn is really impressive offensively, so I'll take Auburn.
You got him, Governor Beasley.
That's a good one. Auburn might be the best pick, but I'm going to go with Mississippi State, kind of stir it up, try to pick up a game here. I think they're capable of doing it, and they might pull it out.
Yeah, absolutely, if they're fired up as they were last week. How about Georgia at Missouri with Gurley out? That line flipped, and Missouri becomes a 1-point favorite over Georgia, Governor Hodges.
I'm going to take Missouri. Georgia always has something strange happen every year like this. I think I'm going to take Mizzou at home. Georgia's got, certainly the quarterback's not incredibly strong there, and I think Mizzou's going to win that.
Okay, Governor Beasley?
I'm going to try the Dogs. That's a tough one, but Jim's analysis is pretty doggone good. But, again, need a little bit of spread here, so I'm going to go with Bulldogs, and I don't think the Gurley factor will be that big of a deal. You got enough spread on the offense.
Okay, and finally, Louisville at Clemson. Tigers are favored by 9.5 at home. Governor Hodges.
I've been really impressed with Clemson's offense and their new quarterback. I'm going to take Clemson.
Tigers laying the 9.5. Governor Beasley.
Well, last week I went with my head and not my heart, and first time I think I've gone against Clemson, I got smited, and so I'm going to Clemson. I think Jim's right. They're looking strong. Washington's doing amazing things at home. Could be a great game. Tigers
laying the 9.5. Guys, as always, we thank you very much for your participation. The football filibuster is in the books for this week. Governor Jim Hodges, Governor David Beasley, thank them for being with us here on Sports Talk. We'll be right back. Once again, we thank the governors for being with us tonight for another exciting edition of the football filibuster. Our football talk continues on this Friday night. We shift gears to high school football. It's our South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance School Football Report tonight. David Shelton joining us to talk about some of the top games in South Carolina tonight. And David, perusing the schedule, got a couple of really good rivalry games at opposite ends of the state. Dorman, Spartanburg, regardless of the records, always big when they get together. Then down closer to you, Fort D and Summerville.
Yep. Probably the two most interesting games on the schedule. I mean, it's really kind of a lull week, I guess, the lull before the storm. But you're right, Spartanburg, Dorman, number one Dorman, and Spartanburg coming off a loss. They're 3-3. But like you said, you don't. None of that really matters when they play. They really get up to play each other. I look for an exciting game there. I look for some scoring. I would imagine both quarterbacks and receiving corps will have big games. And, and then down here in the Low Country, Fort Dorchester's 2-19 against Summerville and Steve LaPrade hadn't won as head coach at Fort Dorchester against his former boss. But I think that's going to change tonight. I think Fort Dorchester is one of the better defensive teams overall that I've seen, and I think they're going to give Summerville they're going to handle Summerville tonight. And if they can't beat them tonight still, I don't know that Fort will ever beat Summerville again.
How good is the young, I guess he plays quarterback, he's an athlete, the young kid that he's gotten an offer from South Carolina. I think he's gotten one from Clemson. Well, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
Carry-on Joyner, he's a freshman quarterback, and I saw him play last week. He's very athletic. He's a little thin, about 6'1", about 165 pounds. But can throw a football pretty well, and it's got a little bit of moxie to him, a little bit of maturity. He makes 14-year-old mistakes at times, but Steve LaPrade, the coach, has said that he's probably, he could be the best player to ever play there. And, Robert Quinn and Carlos Dunlap played there. So for him to say that kind of thing about a freshman, he's pretty good. He's going to be a pretty good player.
When you said 14, I mean, that makes you take a step back to consider how young these guys are, playing at a high level and getting college scholarships at the age of 14. How about this?
And it's going to continue on. I mean, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say that with the age of YouTube and Twitter and all that, you're going to see 14-year-olds get a lot of scholarship offers over the next few years. It's just, you can't hide them anymore. The film gets out on YouTube, and then colleges see it. You know what? They're making offers.
Let me ask you about a couple of undefeated teams that'll be risking their records tonight. Myrtle Beach at home against a Lake City team that's lost just once, and Loris 6-0 going to Waccamaw. Any threats there for the undefeated teams?
I think Myrtle Beach, should be wary. I still think they'll win the game, but I don't think that's going to be a walkover. I think Loris will beat Waccamaw, and I think they'll do it, rather convincingly. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I don't think they should be in trouble. But Myrtle Beach is going to have to watch Lake City. They have some athletes. They have a good quarterback, good receiver. Defensively, they'll be challenged a little bit. So I look for Myrtle Beach to win, but I look for that to be a challenge.
What about this Gaffney team? Started out 0-5, won their last two. They go to York tonight. Come to Northwestern, their first loss of the season. How do you see that game playing out?
Well, I think York is the better team, and Gaffney has built some momentum. In terms of momentum, they're going the right way. York, coming off that loss, is probably doubting themselves a little bit. But Gaffney lost a really good running back last week to injury, Jordan Shippey, and I think that's going to hurt them. And I think their defense, though it has improved, I think York's going to really test that defense tonight.
All right, last thing, David. Last night, AC Flora beat Chapin in a showdown between two of the better 3A teams in the Midlands, 16-6. Falcons won it. They continue to roll.
Yeah, I think AC Flora is going to be a team that wouldn't shock me if they finish undefeated in the regular season and will be a serious threat. They've got some athletes, and now, a couple of them they thought might make the Shrine Bowl. None of them did. That gives them a little chip. And I think that's going to propel them to a very, very strong playoff run.
Where are you setting up shop tonight?
I am watching Goose Creek and James Island, two 5-1 teams. James Island has played a light schedule, and they're going to they're going to run it. They're going to get a rude awakening tonight, and here to see Goose Creek and see if they can continue and win their 6 in a row.
Okay, David, we thank you very much, my friend. We'll talk to you on Monday night.
Okay, man. Take care.
Shelton of the High School Sports Report also covers high schools for the Charleston Post and Courier. We appreciate him being with us tonight for our high school football report here on Sports Talk. Also tonight, a couple of other really interesting matchups. Hillcrest plays Greenville, first time in 35 years. These schools will meet. They'll play at Serene Stadium. And Christ Church plays Southside Christian. Christ Church going for 47 wins in a row. We'll hit a break. We'll be right back with recruiting here on Sports Talk. All right, let's give you the recruiting report here on a Friday night. Our recruiting here on Sports Talk is brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperatives. Sponsors up 14 Touchstone Energy Bowl. Hope to see you there when some of the best players in South Carolina knock heads and knock each other around at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. That'll be on December 13th in Myrtle Beach. All right, several significant things to tell you about recruiting-wise tonight. Again, Clemson fans, be on the lookout for a commitment tomorrow from quarterback Zarek Cooper out of Jonesboro, Georgia. He plans to do that at 2016 guy. Meantime, speaking of 2016 quarterbacks, Brandon McElwain out of Pennsylvania visited Auburn last weekend and to watch the game against LSU. Of course, he was very much impressed by what he saw, both in terms of the school, the campus, and the way Auburn played the football game, their offense in particular. He's also been to USC and Penn State this season, and he's going to go to Duke for the North Carolina game. He will also go to Florida and Virginia to complete visits to his final 6 schools. He is not planning a return trip to any of the schools on his list. Now, his father went to USC. He has lots of family in the state. He remains in weekly contact with USC recruiter G.A. Mangus, who tells him he's the guy he wants at quarterback for the 2016 class. McElwain said no order in his final 6. He won't make one until he completes his visits. His plan is to have a decision in late December or early January, but that's not definite. And he won't trim his list further. He will just pick one from the 6. Clemson has a slight lead over Auburn for 2016 place kicker Alex Barber out of Cumming, Georgia. Neither has offered. He visited Clemson for the NC State game last weekend. He's been to Clemson more than Auburn, he said, so he's more familiar with them and their coaches. And he also likes the fact that he said Clemson has a kicking coach to work directly with him. So he's going to visit Auburn October 25th. He plans to be back at Clemson for the USC game. Clemson commitment wide receiver Shadell Bell out of Lithonia, Georgia, was offered Thursday by USC. But he said today he is 100% committed to the Tigers. Basketball, 7-footer Roselle Nix of Pensacola Junior College in Florida announced on his Facebook page Thursday that he's down to USC, Loyola Marymount, and Pittsburgh, and he now plans to sign early. He told us last night that there is no leader. He last talked to the Gamecocks on Wednesday, and he thinks that Frank Martin is coming down to see him next Tuesday. He's taken officials to USC and Marymount. He'll go to Pittsburgh October 24th, and then soon after that, he'll make his decision. And Jacob Evans, a guard from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is down in South Carolina and Cincinnati as he is getting close on making his decision. That decision could come within the next week or so. All right, there you go with recruiting here on Sports Talk. It's the top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on this Friday night. Good to have you with us. Hope you're heading out to watch a great high school football game somewhere, or maybe you're headed out for dinner, out for a date. We thank you for having us as part of your trip. Taking us along on your date, I think, is a great idea. I really think that puts everybody in a positive mood. You know, some people like to have Frank Sinatra playing in the background. Some people like to have Styx playing in the background. Some people like Tim McGraw. And then there's those who like to bring on Sports Talk and have Sports Talk play a little bit romantic. I can't think of anything finer. K-Mac, can you?
Background? Did he say Styx?
Yeah.
Mr. Roboto?
Styx. You've heard of Styx, right? Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. Dennis Devon and that crowd, yes, I've heard of them.
Yeah, I don't know the names of the people in the group. I just know the name of a very fine musical organization. We heard from the governors, and they gave their picks. It's time now to tell you what's going on in the Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge amongst the experts here at Sports Talk. Boy, what a week for the Corn last week. Coming on strong, as he always does, kind of hitting the stride now. 7-3 last week. Steakman went 7-3. Still in the basement, but he went 7-3. K-Mac 4-6. Matt, the newsman, 4-6. Pro went 6-4 last week. So Pro is leading, 34 up, 26 down. Narrow edge over me, 33-27. Matt 32-28. K-Mac 31-29, barely above 500. Steakman buried in the basement. He's the New York Mets of the organization, 27-33. Here's what we got this week. Matt's picks are not in yet. He is traveling, but he'll get those into us later on. So we'll go without him. I'm the only one picking UCLA, taking the 2.5 against Oregon. We're all taking Notre Dame. Steakman is the only one taking Boston College and the 3.5 against NC State. We all four are taking Georgia Tech, and Steakman and I are taking Ole Miss and getting the 2 points at Texas A&M. Let's see, Pro and K-Mac are taking LSU on the road against Florida. Florida getting a 1.5 at home. I've got Arkansas. Pro's got Arkansas. K-Mac and Steakman going with Bama. And I've got Auburn. K-Mac's got Auburn. Pro and Graham taking Mississippi State. Missouri and Georgia, again a split. K-Mac and I are taking Missouri. Other two are taking Georgia. And I'm the only one taking Louisville and the 9.5 against Clemson. I think Tigers will win in a close one. I don't think this is going to be one of those 50-point games for Clemson. I think it's going to be something more. You know, they're facing a pretty good defense here on paper, statistically, and maybe in person. And, you know, offensively, they're not quite as stout when they face a good defense. So I think this will be closer in terms of the spread than it's been in the last couple of games. Back in a moment. Friday edition of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, your final word in sports every night in South Carolina. Thank you for being with us here once again tonight and throughout the week. Don't forget, on Tuesdays, it's a Talking Tuesday here on Sports Talk as we hear from the head coaches from USC and Clemson, and it's presented by the South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Story came out late this afternoon from Fox Sports. They've been doing an investigation on Florida State's officials and the Tallahassee police after the case against Jameis Winston, the allegations of a sexual assault against him, after the decision was made by the state attorney in Tallahassee not to pursue the case. Fox Sports took it upon themselves to examine thousands of pages of documents. What they have come up with is Florida State University officials and Tallahassee police took steps to both hide and then hinder the criminal investigation into a rape allegation against Winston. After learning of in December of 2013 that no charges would be filed, Fox Sports examined thousands of pages of documents, including law enforcement files, emails, and other correspondence, as well as video and audio interviews conducted by detectives and other records through a series of requests filed with multiple agencies under Florida's public records laws. So I'm not going to go into all the detail about what they found. I've kind of summed it up at the top of their story there. So, I mean, if this is true, then it's most unfortunate and very sad that a university and a local police agency would go to extremes to protect a quarterback in the midst of a run towards a national championship and Heisman Trophy. I think we can all agree with that if this is found to be correct, that Florida State should suffer the most severe penalties possible as a university. And, of course, that police department and even that attorney general or that state attorney down there, Willie Meggs, should also face some severe penalties as a result if this report proves to be accurate.
Well, you know, the key point, Corn, is I think coming up soon will be one of those specialty expose long-form articles from the New York Times in their investigation on this.
No, they already did a pretty long one on it, too.
Yeah,
it was very troubling.
And it's, you know, part of me tells me they're going to spin it whatever way they want it, and, of course, they're going to point to victimization by some media trying to paint a southern town in a corner because they took steps to cover up stuff. It's true in college football that when you're in a small town, and we had a caller. Remember the caller we had, I think, about a year ago that said he was a police official in a small college town. He wouldn't give us a name, and he talked about the unique pressures he had when dealing with athletes and other things that not only athletes but students on campus as schools try to protect their reputation by not releasing information on crime statistics
and their assets. Well, and you know, on the same line of thought, Corn, in the NFL, a report now coming out of San Francisco that defensive end Ray McDonald called a San Jose police officer who also worked security for the 49ers to come over to his house when he was going through his whole ordeal, and now the San Jose police have suspended that officer. Again, it just reeks of the inside, you know, cronyism that goes on to protect these superstar athletes against anything from the outside that's deemed as a threat. And then, you know, I'm glad it's coming out. I'm glad there's good reporting going on and at least bring this to the forefront. And it really has come to the forefront over the past several weeks because of everything with Ray Rice, you know, with that video coming out. Now everybody's on high alert, for better or for worse, but I think for better. I think if we're going to err on the side of overreacting to domestic abuse and sexual assaults, then that's better than where you are underreacting to the problem.
The only thing that's scary about that, Corn, is when we overreact, the cover-ups get more steep. That's the way I feel about it. It's scary. It really is. By the way, just
you mean when we overreact to what? To the initial accusations or to reports of a cover? What are you? What are you referring to
we're
in
talking
terms of
about
overreacting?
when maybe the punishment is overstepping the crime, and people say, well, this will teach them not to do this again. And pretty much what it does is it makes people make unique ways to cover things up, because they don't want to get caught.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt the fact that Florida suspended Harris, he was not arrested, was not charged, but just when the accusation came out, Florida said, you're suspended, you can take your classes online, you can't be on campus, you can't be with the football team. 2 years ago, 1 year ago, that probably doesn't happen, guys. I mean, I really think that things have changed so much in just the past several months from Jameis Winston to now. Where schools they're going to err on the side of caution, and they're going to, there was a quick resolution here, and maybe they expected that at some point. If a guy says, okay, well, maintain your innocence, but we're going to have to get some more facts before we trot you out on the field. And Florida State didn't do that last year with Jameis Winston. The Ravens didn't do that with Ray Rice, but I think you're seeing a lot more caution now by organizations, college and pro.
I would say this, Corn, if I'm a big-time quarterback in college football now.
Now, I was going to say, you do see a major difference, and the way you pointed that out, a major difference in the approach between Florida State and Florida. Now, Winston continued, of course, to play under the cloud of the investigation. If I remember correctly, the alleged incident that he was involved in took place
a year earlier,
prior to the season. Right. It was before the season. The investigation's going on. Word of it comes out. He continues to play. They never considered suspending him whatsoever. Florida, like a lot of schools, South Carolina is one. You get arrested at South Carolina, you're automatically suspended. You could be totally innocent.
Yeah.
And that's what I was getting at earlier in the Harris case, is that, in a case where a guy is innocent, totally innocent, but he's accused of something, he pays a penalty that when you look back at it, it's a little bit unfair. I mean, if Harris is totally innocent, then it's unfair that he was dragged through the mud and had to sit out this game or sit out the week.
And if he was falsely accused, then he should go after who falsely accused him, and police should charge that person.
Absolutely.
But that very rarely happens. I mean, again, and we don't know who,
because they wanted to go away. Just
right.
As much
Everybody
as
wants it to go away, and but the bottom line, he was not charged. He was never arrested and charged. But as they tell these athletes, first of all, you are a target, not just from young women, but lots of people that want to get a piece of you in one way, shape, or form. You have to be smart, and you have to be careful what kind of situations you put yourself in. And it's not normal operating procedure for a guy to be accused of sexual assault. That's just, you put yourself probably as a male in a bad spot if you're being accused of that.
I'm a big-time quarterback in college football these days, Corn. I'm going to have a 24-hour chaperone.
Well, Jameis Winston does have one of those now, too.
Oh, he has them now.
There's
after
a picture
the fact.
floating around where he's at Publix. Actually, according to the caption, and I don't know, these things, it's on the internet, Corn. It has to be true, but there was a picture of him standing in front of the seafood section at a Publix at 2 a.m. with his chaperone, and they said he was buying crab legs.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I saw that. I mean, he's never going to live that down.
No.
He's never going to live that down. The whole Florida State situation stinks, though, from head to toe. I mean, we've all been skeptical of that since the details started coming out. And the thing is, Winston has done nothing since then to lead you to believe that he's not culpable in some way or form or fashion, because he continues to have problems. He continues to have these off-the-field issues where it leads you to question his character, which could lead you to think, well, maybe, the accusations of the rape are true. We'll get a break. We'll be right back. Well, just to complete our conversation, I looked this up. According to Wikipedia, studies have found that police classify between 1.5 and 8% of rape accusations as unfounded, unproven, or false. However, researchers say those determinations are often dubious. So they give you a percentage, but then they say it's kind of dubious. But
Yeah.
it's
So
a very
1%,
small number.
1%?
Between 1.5% and 8% of rape accusations are unfounded, unproven, or false.
Yeah. I mean, I would.
That's a very small number.
Very, very small number.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Hey, coming up, Monty Dutton will be with us.
Unreported.
But and my point is, my one point was, again, and not pointing to the Harris situation at all, because I know none of the. I mean, there's two sides to every story. But when people say, well, like, and you made the point, Corn, of, hey, you know, I would never back away. I would fight and let the truth stand. Even if you have the truth, I mean, you're trying to get a guy convicted. That's no guarantee, and you know you're going to be put through so much, and there could be so many factors working against you, like what you're seeing in Tallahassee, and what you saw in San Francisco with the police and the community. All they're going to rally around their star, their hero. He would have never done this. It's just Hussey that's doing it, and you know, she was with other guys beforehand. All this stuff, it would be very easy to say, you know what, I want it to go away. I want it to stop. And that's
agree.
what happens.
Yeah, I understand that does happen. I understand that. The only thing about the Harris case was the evidence that his attorney presented yesterday when he spoke out for the first time.
Well, he didn't present evidence. He said it. He didn't show. He didn't have evidence. He said it.
Well, I'm not there. I'm going off the reports where he said they have this evidence, they have these eyewitnesses, they have this, that, and the other. It sounded to me pretty strong. Okay, it sounded to me pretty strong. Now, if the lady today dropped the case because she lied about it, first of all, that's one thing, or if she dropped the case because she feared going through the process was too much for her, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, she lied.
But I do know that there are yes, right. There are organizations, I believe, on campuses that help women who are victims of assault to go forward and do things and to prosecute. If she is really sincere about it, you know, she could go to those organizations and seek help.
Phil, they're not going to go to class for you and keep everybody from sending you death threats, and they're not going to. They're not. They can't protect you from that.
I understand that.
And having all your personal details put out by a lawyer. And that lawyer, first of all, he's paid money to do exactly what he did to you, try to influence you and be like, you know, I believe this lawyer who's defending Harris. That's his job. Like, and if you're the accuser, you can't say anything. You can't reveal the details of that because it's not good legal.
The accused has a right for a defense. He has
exactly
a right
in a court of law. But I mean, he was doing it in the public.
He didn't do this.
He was doing it in the court of public opinion to sway people. The accuser can't do that because you have to let your lawyer present the facts in court, so you don't say anything. So it's lopsided. You always see the defense team going public with that, and the plaintiff, they have to stay quiet. So it's a landslide. I mean, that's public opinion.
Well, you know, you're right about the public opinion part, but I just think that his attorney was trying to state his case publicly because he must have felt that he was innocent. Be right back. All right, let's take a quick break from a little football talk and everything else we've been talking about to dive into some NASCAR. It's time for the full Monty on NASCAR as we welcome in our good friend Monty Dutton. You can find Monty's stuff on the net at montydutton.com. That's MONTEDUTTON, montydutton.com. Monty, a veteran observer of NASCAR, was on the beat for many years, and he joins us on Friday nights to talk about what's happening. And we're in Charlotte, and it's the middle race of this particular segment of the chase. A lot of pressure on a lot of drivers, Monty, because there's only one driver who's got to win in this segment, and they don't want to go to Talladega, the guys in the chase, without a victory and risk what could happen at Talladega next week.
Well, there's only two people at most who can go in Talladega, and they can go to Talladega with the win. So the people who got last week was a particularly difficult way to start because the last four right now in points are 300 drivers, Johnson Kane and Earnhardt Jr. and Brad Keselowski. They're bringing up the rear right now. And so somebody will mess up in this race and will be for it. The fact now is that really makes it more important for those drivers to win because of the fact that anybody can get eliminated at Talladega.
Yeah. And by the way, Monty is covering a high school football game tonight, so you might hear some stuff in the background. What game are you covering tonight?
I'm covering Carolina at Woodruff. I was completely
Carolina at Woodruff, okay.
I was discombobulated there because Carolina planted a ball that went almost directly straight up in the air. So that's what.
Yeah, you don't see that in high school football, do you?
That reminds me of the little story from the coach telling the kids to put it at the sidelines and turn sideways and put it over the press box. Okay.
Well, those kind of things do happen in high school football. Now, Joey Logano led to the second round of practice. He's coming off a win last week. The Penske team has been very strong, but Logano in particular, do we now start to look at him as the guy to beat moving forward?
Well, I think that we look at him as sort of the heir apparent, and he's in that situation that comes up in every sport where they say that first you have to contend before you're able to win it all, and that comes up in every sport. But I think he's going to, when it comes down to the pressure of the last few races, I think it'll be a of his medal at that time.
What do you think happened with the Hendrick? What do you think happened with the Hendricks team last weekend at Kansas? All the different problems they had.
Well, the biggest problem in that whole race was a lot of tire failures happened. Brad Keselowski was leading the race when he went on the wall. Earnhardt Jr. was leading the race when he went on the wall. And so, predictably, you should, those of you who are consumers out there should always buy Goodyear tires because from covering NASCAR for 20 years, I can assure you that Goodyear has never said that anything was wrong with any of their tires. It's always something with air pressure, whatever. So they build faultless tires because in 20 years of covering NASCAR, I never heard Goodyear claim that there was anything wrong that wasn't somebody else. But that was the big problem that set everything. There are a lot of people who were prominent in went into the wall because of tire failure for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because during the race, one of the MRN pit reporters interviewed one of the Goodyear guys, and he said exactly that. It's not their fault. It's the setup, and it's the way that the crews are handling the air pressure in the tires, especially the right fronts.
If someone from Goodyear admitted something was wrong, I think it would really be shocking. I mean, in 25 years, I've never seen it happen. It's someone else's fault.
Yeah.
They do have a difficult job because the racing is generally better when the tires wear, and the hard tires that last a long time. It's tempting for Goodyear to make hard tires that don't race very well because they don't get criticized. But it's good to the sport to have tires that are more adhesive and softer. And so, as I said, in fairness to Goodyear, they are trying to do what NASCAR wants them to do, and that's pretty difficult. That's a pretty difficult margin that they have to work with, or a pretty tight margin.
All right, so is this thing working out the way NASCAR hoped it would? The chase, the different segments, and the elimination of drivers through the segments, and the pressure to win a race to guarantee your spot in the next round. Is this creating the sort of pressure and anxiety among the competitors and the excitement among the fans that they hoped it would?
So it creates excitement, but there's a great risk with this volatile setup because at every level they equalize everybody the same. So there is a danger that someone who hasn't done anything all year will win the championship. And so I think that you can't really judge. Well, first of all, you can't. If everything is perfect, that's not probably a fair barometer either. It would be nice if NASCAR would stick with the same format for a while so you could judge it. But I think that the danger is right now, what if Jimmy Johnson and Brad Keselowski, who together won 7 of the last 8 championships, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., the most popular driver in the sport, what if they are gone from that second round? Well, I would say, which is just scored, by the way, I would say that they'll probably be rethinking that format again. But we'll see.
All right. We'll let you get back to your football game. We could hear the crowd in the background. Thank you, Monty. And real quick, who's your pick for tomorrow night then? Have you got somebody you think's going to walk away with the W?
I think that Earnhardt Jr. is way overdue for a Charlotte victory. It would be very dramatic with him deep in the points to come through there. But he, a year ago, had a fluke failure at the other race when he had to race one there. And this is the hometown for him, and this is certain. I've got a little bit of a hunch that he's going to respond well. But most of my hunches are usually wrong, so. But that's it.
Okay, my friend, thank you. Enjoy your football game. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR with us here on Friday nights. Are you guys enjoying the chase and the way it's set up this year with the different segments and the elimination of the drivers? I'm kind of liking it. I can see where it has sort of the same feel of the playoffs that the other major sports have as you move through the various rounds. I kind of like it. I think NASCAR's hit on something pretty good here.
I kind of like it myself because I think, right now we know that a guy who we think will be there at the end of the chase, Jimmy Johnson, is sitting there hanging on the precipice of falling off the cliff. And if he doesn't have a great run in Charlotte, same with Dale Jr. because he's in 11th spot. And Jimmy Johnson is number 12. So somebody's going to get knocked off that island after Talladega. 4 guys.
Dale Jr. turned 40 today. He's not a junior anymore.
And Brett Favre read him a birthday poem.
Well, he's 45 today, isn't he?
Is today Favre's birthday?
Yeah, he's 45.
Well, I didn't realize today was his birthday. Yeah, how about that?
He's 45 right. With 85-year-old age.
I think he's going to text you a picture later, Corn. Are you going to text him a picture?
I'd love
how
to
that
see.
Works. I don't know what your relationship's like these days.
I'd love to have a picture of Brett Favre.
I'm sure
without
you
the beard.
Weirdo.
I without the beard, but he won't replace. Right now, I'm an A-Rod man. Aaron Rodgers is my boy. He's going to lead me to great things this year. Just getting started. Winning championships in Green Bay. We got baseball playoffs tonight, weather permitting. I guess it's not time yet for first pitch. Baltimore hosting Kansas City in the ALCS Game 1. Threat of weather in the Baltimore area tonight. I don't know. The Royals, if they get that running game going, guys, they could go in there and steal that
That's
series
why the
from
rain suits Baltimore, because the field will be wet. I know they'll have it covered up, but maybe that'll slow some of those guys down.
Ned Yost.
They are not scared to steal a base anytime, any place on the field. Buddy Pugh, South Carolina State coach, coming up with us in a moment. right, we're back at Sports Talk Friday nights, heading into the weekend of college football. And one of the games that we'll all be watching this weekend, South Carolina State in action, and the Bulldogs back at home for the first time in a couple of weeks to take on North Carolina Central. Bulldogs have won their last 3. And so Buddy Pugh has got the Bulldogs moving in the right direction, 2-0 in the MEAC. And Coach Pugh joins us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Phil. How are you?
Man, we're great. Good to have you with us. Last time I saw you, you were not a happy camper. That was after Clemson. Then things got a little worse when you played Coastal, but you've rebounded. You beat Furman. You beat Hampton. You beat A&T.
Yeah, we have rebounded some, and you're exactly right. We went a real bad way after Clemson, and I don't know how much of that played over into our next week Coastal, but Coastal's pretty good now. And I got to really take my hat off to those guys, but at the same time, we have played better since then.
What's been the difference for you? What's changed things for you?
Well, I think our defense has started to settle in a little bit. In the Furman game, to J.S. Wiley played extremely well at the quarterback position for us, and come out of that game, Phil, I thought we had something. And, we were really excited about what he had done with our zone read style offense and being able to do some quarterback run stuff. But he got banged up in the Hampton game, the next game, and then he got banged up really badly in the A&T game this past weekend. So, we back to square one. We back to Adrian Collick, and whatever else we can find at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can Adrian do the job for you moving forward?
You know what? He played really well at the end of the Hampton game. Actually came in the second half and won the Hampton game for us. So, he's got a reputation. He's got a little bit of a history of being able to play pretty well at times. He's been up and down. So that's one of the things you deal with young quarterbacks. They're just so inconsistent sometimes, and you got to deal with that. But at the same time, he does have an upside. And, when he's playing toward his better side, he seems to be able to take it for some wins.
Yeah, will this lead you to rely more on your running game, take the pressure off of Collick, put the ball in Simmons' hands, put the ball in Lewis Freeman's hands, and, just put the ball, put the pressure on your running backs to move the offense?
Well, that would seem to be, the thought. You'd be able to be on your offensive front some and your running backs and try to see you control the ball some that way. And we need to get back to more of that. We still think that we can do some of the things that we thought we do, when you want to try to, throw the ball around a little bit and be a spread offense. But, that's not been a big deal. That's not been very good for us. And this past weekend down in Atlanta, we blocked the punt and got it close and got it in, and then we did drive it a couple of times. Our offense has moved the ball really effectively. We've just struggled inside the red zone some, so we can't get in that way. But we do need to get back and really, see if we can lean on a heavy run game.
What's up with this, Coach? This is Tom Hayes. How you doing?
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you now. I know you got your quarterback banged up, but are you looking at the light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, after Central, if you could pull this victory off, you got a bye week. Is that enough to rest up the bumps and bruises for the stretch run? Because of course you got Bethune coming up on the 25th,
right,
and I think Norfolk at the end of the season.
Yeah. You Tom, that would be exactly what would be, our best case scenario for us at this point. If we could just get through this week and get ourselves healed up some, I think we got a chance to be pretty good. We've really played good here recently. Our defense has really come on. And we've got some guys there that, names don't know, Phil, the Darius Leonards and the Greg Newells of the world. Those guys are freshmen that are playing for us and doing a fantastic job. So, we got those guys really playing, like lights out. So if we can continue to get our offense to improve, along with the fact that our kicking game is pretty good, then we got a chance to be okay.
We have to congratulate you, too, because you picked up career win number 100 last week. So I'm sure you felt like it took forever to get there, but it hasn't been all that long.
It was good. And, we won it. We won the 100th game, before we got on that murderous roll of games because, we were really afraid that we'd go for against the Furmans and the Coastals and the Clemsons, and we were able to get that at 99th, I think, against Furman, and then we got the 100th against Hampton. So that was neat, and we're excited about having got that done. But let me tell you, we on to bigger and better things now.
You got it. Well, good luck to you this weekend. Thanks for being with us, and we will talk to you again soon. Buddy Pugh, South Carolina State, the Bulldogs 4-2, 2-0 in the MEAC, trying to get back to the postseason. We'll be back to wrap things up on Sports Talk in just a moment. All right, let's take a look at some high school football scores for you before we say good nights. And some good matchups going on around the state. Let's see what we got. Lancaster is leading Clinton 7-6. Lancaster's having a terrific year. I think they're 5-1, maybe 6-1, and Clinton hasn't won a game, I don't believe. That's amazing. Myrtle Beach on top of Lake City, 21-7. Darlington 7-0 on Manning. And Fort Mill is leading its game 13-0. I'm going off of tweets here. They don't always tell you the other team in the game, but Fort Mill is leading. Dillon on top of Mullins, 17-0. It is, let's see, who is True Blue Nation against Rock Hill? Whoever Rock Hill is playing, they're losing 7-0. Let's see here. Looking for some other scores, and that's all I see. I see a bunch of various details and things. Oh, York is up on Gaffney, 14-0. South Florence up on Sumter, 14-0. And Dillon Christian leading Trinity Burns, 7-0. That's a big game in Skeeza. Those teams, I think each of them only has one loss, so that's a pretty big game there. Hartsville leading Crestwood, 13-6. And Lamar 14, Louisville nothing. I think Louisville hasn't won a game this year. So there you go, some of the scores that have cropped up on our Twitter feed as we follow various high school reporters around the state. All right, looking forward to Clemson and Louisville tomorrow. Now, we have spoken. I think I'm the only one who thinks it's going to be a close one. Guys, give me your your actual score. I mean, are you both thinking blowout here, K-Mac Pro? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Louisville's going to be able to score. I think they're really going to struggle. I don't know that it'll be another shutout like we saw last week with NC State, but their offense, believe it or not, even with Bobby Petrino, they're really struggling right now. So they're going to be relying on their defense, and eventually into, I think, Clemson and all their weapons, they'll wear down that Louisville offense, and they might not put half 100 on the board, but I could see a 31-10 type of win for the Tigers.
Clemson has been good at jumping on people early. If they do that, as I said the other night, I think Bobby Petrino will be seduced into throwing the football. That will create some turnovers, in my opinion. Clemson will get a short field. I see something like 30-14.
All right, I'm looking along the lines of 24-20. Clemson. I think they'll score 3, get a field goal in there. Defense will be good enough. Will Gardner, if he's able to go, big man with a big arm, good offensive line to protect him. If they have their outstanding receiver back as well, that'll be another bonus for Louisville. And I want to see that running back, Michael Dyer, get out there, see if he still has it from a couple of years ago. Follow our coverage tomorrow of Clemson's game on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to K-Mac Pro and the Steak Man. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday night.